Hi everybody, and welcome to tonight's meeting of eating disorder dietitians in Australia. I apologise for not having a fancier name for us, but at fairly short notice I didn't have access to the creativity that's required to have a really fancy nice name for us, and I'm sure you'll appreciate that just as we are is probably quite sufficient. Thank you all so much for being here tonight. This is wonderful. So everybody, cheers. Cheers, cheers, cheers. Clink. Thank you for that. Thank you, Dan Murphys, for not shutting down right now. I think we can all probably give a heartfelt nod for the for gin and wine, etc. That being said, so again, a warm welcome to everybody, whether there are a lot of faces here that I recognise that are very dear friends and colleagues, so I really appreciate your support in being here. Again, just a reminder that if you would prefer for your video not to be shown or your name not to be shown, that is absolutely fine. This is absolutely up to you if you would like to kind of be named and have your video here. The first thing I just wanted to acknowledge is just that we're all meeting on Aboriginal land, and the land has always been and will always be Aboriginal. And I sit here on Wurundjeri land, so I know that Joe and I literally live about less than 2 kilometres apart, and I'm not sure if anybody else is on Wurundjeri land, but hello to you, probably neighbour that I might not get to see for a while, but yeah, wherever you are and whatever land you're on, then a warm welcome. I also wanted to extend a particular welcome to my colleagues Tara, Shane and Jeanette, Gabby and Fumi, who are going to be perhaps speaking a little or speaking a lot tonight, specifically around eating disorder management plans, and to bring us some Medicare updates. So I just really wanted to say thank you to those people who we just have had, some brief conversations in the background in order to kind of pull tonight together in a way that hopefully is most helpful to us all. So I guess to start us off, I suppose it would be fairly clear to say that these are times which we have never seen before, both as humans and as eating disorder dietitians, as family members, as colleagues. This is a time that we didn't see coming, and that none of us have experience in. So it's both an individual and a collective experience, and so I just wanted to remind you, I guess, that, honouring our unique individual experiences as we, I'm sure, share all of the feelings. There's been a lot of probably some sadness and some disappointment and maybe some anger and all the stages of change that that have come about, over the past particularly week and a half. I feel like time's really slowed down. There's this thread of time that's really, I can see lots of nods. There's this thread of time that feels like it's really slowed down. I feel like it was only a week and a half ago that things shifted significantly, and now it feels like it's shifted again. So I know that for all of us individually and collectively, that we share very grave and serious concerns for our clients as we are all navigating these new changes together. And that as a lot of people actually here, not ironically, are also non-diet, health at every size and social justice oriented dietitians. And I know that many of us share the concerns for our most vulnerable, and a lot of those people are our clients. And so being able to see the multifactorial ways that trauma and stress and social structures impact upon our most vulnerable is going to be very much part of our lens at the moment. So I just wanted to, just be here with you as we share these concerns, both individually and collectively as well. I also wanted to acknowledge the tremendous outpouring of support that has been evident in our community. People have been incredibly generous and incredibly kind in these times. And if there's one time that we need generosity and support and kindness, it is undoubtedly now. So I just wanted to say from me, and also I've been having lots of conversations over the past week with colleagues, and the support has been absolutely incredible. So I just wanted to say thank you very much to you all for that. Thank you for supporting each other too. All right. So tonight, I guess this is an opportunity to meet together and share some space. So this is not our usual space. For some of you, this is our usual space, and for others, it's not. We get to meet in person from time to time, and you will meet each other also in person. Sharing some collegial space and team space and all that kind of stuff. So having a sense of community at the moment is incredibly important, and being able to share our concerns in a way that we hope will be heard and acknowledged, and to be held with the reverence that it deserves to be held, is something that I would really invite us all to hold tonight. So there's a really palpable sense of uncertainty right now, which I'm sure we are all feeling on so many levels, not only individually, but then also holding space for our clients for whom uncertainty is kryptonite, and everything that brings with it. I'm sure that we all have worries and concerns about not only our practices, but also our businesses, and that perhaps our families are also dealing with a lot of these stresses and concerns at the moment too. Those of us who are parents, dear Lord save us now, are also juggling families and kids, and apparently now I'm a teacher too. Awesome. So, and I know I'm not alone. Those of you with very young children, with babies, with toddlers, dealing with all this myriad of different things. I just want you to know you're not alone in this. It's actually really, really tricky. There's been tons of interruptions in my supervision this week. So for those of you who had the pleasure of seeing all my pets, all my kids, etc., then thanks for your understanding. I really appreciate that. It's been actually kind of wonderful to see people's pets, kids, and everything else. So thank you. All right, so I just wanted to see, I'm just going to do a quick flick through. Gabby, are you here, love? Gabby Herrick, there you are, great.
Yes, I am.
Hello.
Hi.
So, if it's okay with you, Gabby, I just wanted to invite you to speak a little bit to EDMP, if that feels okay.
Yeah, sure. So for those of you out there that are seeing patients who have eating disorder management plans, you would probably be aware that that's not currently able to be accessed while you're practicing via telemedicine from home. So it's a tricky time, and everyone's going to need to make their own decisions about how to manage those clients. But obviously, for us that are treating them, we're really concerned about them, because they're often the most vulnerable patients. They're often immune compromised. They're at very high risk of getting sick, or if they get sick, of not getting better. So ANZ and Butterfly and NEDC have all been advocating for those item numbers to become part of the accessible ones that we can use via telemedicine. So that would mean basically lifting the rules around a patient needing to be in a rural or regional area. But there is a lot of advocacy that's going on beyond the EDMP as well. So if you've actually had a look at what's allowed and what's not allowed currently, you need to, if you're going to use those telemedicine item numbers, which dietitians currently aren't eligible to use at all, but this would apply for mental health professionals or GPs or medical professionals, patients still need to meet very strict criteria. They need to either be at high risk and a vulnerable population of getting COVID-19, or they need to already have COVID-19. And if they're being seen under those telemedicine items that have been created, so they're new item numbers that have been created for this situation, they have to be bulk billed as well at the moment, which is quite interesting. And I think it sort of reflects probably the government. The people making the decisions at the top are often influenced by medical professionals first, and medical professionals get significantly higher rebates. It is a more financially sustainable model to be paid the bulk billed amount as a professional than it might be if you're a mental health professional or an allied health professional. So the government has had a whole number of professional bodies and organisations advocating for change over the last fortnight around those item numbers. And my understanding is the government is definitely listening, and it's going through a staged process of actually transitioning every single item number that is under the MBS to make them all eligible for telemedicine. Basically, the government wants everyone to be working from home. So you're going to see that gradually get rolled out. We're expecting an announcement either tomorrow or it may be Monday. You can imagine there's a lot to change to implement this. There's a lot of logistics that has to happen behind the scenes. Technology has to be changed and updated. These new item numbers need to be implemented. But there should be a very big change in the coming days, I should say. So keep your eyes open for that. At this stage, I guess it means for dietitians generally that you need to think of unique ways of working with clients if you're going to see them from home. You need to work, I guess, your own personal and professional situation to see what's viable for you. So for me, if I can share with you from my practice, what I'm currently doing with patients, because I have a number of patients who I see that don't get access to Medicare anyway. With them, I'm just keeping things the same as usual. With other patients who are on EDMPs or who are on chronic disease management plans, what I'm offering to them is I'm honouring the rebate and just deducting that off the fee that I would normally charge, because I feel like they're in difficult enough situations as it is financially. However, whether the bulk billing mandate gets lifted or not is yet to be seen. There's been a lot of advocacy work from private practitioners, particularly mental health professionals. So I think many are hoping that that will get lifted, because I don't think it's particularly financially sustainable, as I said, for allied health or mental health professionals to get through, especially if we're looking at 6 months worth. And with general attrition rates with patient appointments anyway, with unemployment rates going to soar, it's going to be really challenging times ahead. But just so you know that a lot of work is being done, and change is likely to come very soon. So that's probably the most I can update you on at the moment.
Thank you, Gabby, so much. I really appreciate you filling us in there, because I think that you know, some of the uncertainty for dietitians has been around timing, but it's also been around, you know, the sudden changes that have kind of drawn us into making very quick decisions around like what we do with clients, whether that's and in terms of billing and in terms of online spaces and all this, you know, all the complexity that comes about with making decisions really quickly. So I really appreciate you filling us in. Thank you.
No worries.
So with that in mind, Gabby actually brought up some really wonderful points in terms of things like billing and, you know, location where you're seeing people, et cetera. And what I would direct you to is that I had a really great conversation last week with Julie Duffy-Dillon around who you'll know probably from her podcast, Love Food, and she is a therapist as well as a dietitian. And I had a wonderful live, a live recorded conversation, which you can see it's pinned on the in the Mindful Dietitian Facebook group, and it's also on the website as well, that talks about how and why online work is fundamentally different, and how you can set yourself up and create a relational space which really aims to keep that sense of safety and containment as much as possible. Because I'm sure I'm not alone in saying that, you know, safety and containment at the moment is pretty low for most people. And so there's no wonder there's, you know, lots and lots of, you know, cancellations. And thank you, Michelle. That's very lovely. Michelle was just saying that's helpful. It was helpful. I think it also just, for me, it just really solidified how we can be just very thoughtful with how we set up online work, that it's not something that we can just say to people, this is what we're doing. I mean, some of our perhaps more flexible clients might be fine with that, and a vast majority of our clients are going to be somewhere on the spectrum from very hesitant to extremely hesitant, to the point where you know, they're going to withdraw from their treatment altogether, which I know is a really grave concern for a lot of us, especially with, you know, complex health conditions that eating disorders are. Oh my goodness, can everybody see Jessie and her little baby? Oh, she's got a baby there. That is the sweetest. Oh my goodness. Thank you, Jessie, for being generous with your bubba. So the second thing is that this Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, so Melbourne and Sydney time, so that's 10 Brizzy time and 8 Perth time, that I'm going to be hosting a conversation. So this is going to be an open conversation. I would love you to be there. Give us your ideas. And I've got some topics, and one of those topics is, should I do sliding scale? Yeah. So Shane's saying, my thought, unverified, is that new item numbers will help track the cost of this new rollout. Yes, fair enough too. You can probably see what people are writing down the side there as well. So I've got some topics in mind, including discussing financial stability and things like that. The reason why I think that is a particularly good conversation is because all of us, I'm sure, want to be able to reach the other side of this vaguely financially intact, and that there are some ways that we just need to kind of get a little bit creative until we have a few more answers around, actually even when we do get the answers around telehealth numbers, that doesn't necessarily mean we're going to be in a better financial space necessarily. So that's a discussion that we can have this Saturday. Now, the next person I want to call on, please, if it's okay, is Fumi. Now, Fumi Somahara is our eating disorder interest group convener. So, and Fumi's been, I know, working really, really hard in the background with the AA to kind of get updates and so forth. So, Fumi, do you mind saying a few words? I'm just going to unmute you. There you are. Hello.
Hi, everyone. Thanks, Fee, for holding this meeting. I'm here tonight because Mel Ashley, who's our new convener for the eating disorder interest group, she unfortunately can't attend tonight for several reasons. So she sends her apologies. So I'll give you an update on behalf of EDIG, and Mel will probably update later when she is available. So from the EDIG point, it's very much the same as what we just heard from Gabby at ANZ. You would have all received the DAA newsletter that contains some advocacy template last Monday, which was for those who were interested to use it to do the advocacy work together. Our main communication tool is the Members Connect on DAA, and so we have also communicated on there of the need for that change to happen quickly for a very vulnerable population, with those with eating disorders. So just like Gabby said, I have been informed that Mel has been communicating very closely with DAA from Monday this week, and the latest update was that we would have a more clear understanding of the exact time of things happening and all that in the next very short few days. So what we can ask everyone to do at this stage is please keep a close eye on newsletters and also Members Connect. If you do have concerns, Members Connect is a great place to post them up instead of, say, individual emails or social media, because we can actually collect that and put that forward to DAA as well. So if there is anything, we do appreciate it if you can put it up there, and it is a public, private but public space for the whole eating disorder interest group community. So if you can actually put it up there and share that concern with everyone, or questions, that will be really helpful, not just for yourself, but for any other dietitians out there pretty much questioning the same issue. So keep an eye out on any of the newsletters and Members Connect updates, and that's all we have for now. I'll take it back to you, Fee.
Perfect. Fumi, thank you so much. I really appreciate you and Gabby. I also just wanted to loop back to Gabby to say a very sincere thank you for all your advocacy and hard work, not only now, but for years now. So it's definitely much appreciated. I know both of you, do a lot of work in the background, a lot of, squirreling away in the background that isn't seen. And so I just wanted to say
thank you.
Thanks, Fee.
All right, so now I've got a little fun game for us to play, and that is, what I'm going to do is I would be really curious to ask you a bit about how your practice, so whether that means your business or like from a financial perspective or from an engagement perspective. I've got 2 questions for you, and I'm going to pop up a poll. And this poll it'll all be recorded, so we'll be able to see what people's responses are, and then I can also add it up, and it's all very fancy. It's actually great data for us in a totally non-gold standard way. Sorry, Gabby, this is not a gold standard questionnaire. So my first question. Okay, so I've got 2 questions. The first one is, how impacted has your practice been so far by COVID-19? So on a Likert scale of essentially 1 to 5, so not at all, a little, moderately, somewhat, very impacted, or significantly impacted so far by COVID-19. And then the second question, for those of you who are hot on the button, is how concerned are you about the future impact of COVID-19 on your practice? Not at all concerned, a little concerned, moderately concerned, very concerned, or significantly concerned. And then when you've done that, I'm just going to offer a few minutes for you to write in the chat box, only if you feel willing, about how things have been impacted so far and your concerns about what will happen. And even if you just wanted to write a summary, and then if you feel comfortable, I can call on you to maybe give us a few more details. Yeah, specifically to eating disorders. Thank you, Alana. I mean, just given that this is what the meeting is about, I guess. I mean, generally, I think everybody is impacted, all dietitians, but specifically with eating disorders would be helpful. So how has your a lot of cancellations, safety concerns, rescheduling, no new clients, cancellations. Yes, affordability. Yeah, okay, so there's a lot of themes here. A lot of themes: cancellations, rescheduling, no new clients, and yeah, people just wanted to come back when it's all over. Yeah, eating disorders don't work like that, do they? No. Okay, yeah, a lot. All right. I'm wondering, Joe, Money, is it okay if you speak a little bit? Because you're somebody who, you're somebody who manages quite a sizable practice and as an eating disorder specialist, and you've written a number of different things there. Is it okay maybe to share with us a little bit more about the points that you raised?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Fiona. I guess what I've seen is a significant drop-off in clients in terms of new referrals, but also clients rescheduling and then cancelling, and the similar themes to what we're seeing in terms of people wanting to re-engage once this is over. I actually had that happening probably for the last 3 or 4 weeks before we went into this sort of semi-lockdown period. And it was quite interesting because I had a surge last week from my very unwell clients. So my very unwell clients, my very anxious clients, my clients that need a lot more intense support are actually engaging a lot more. Mm-hmm. Obviously that's difficult because they want to keep coming in face to face and there's the risks. I work in a medical practice, so I feel pretty safe in terms of they're managing things really well at the practice, but it's a high risk place because it is a medical practice, so there is a lot of people that are coming in there. So overall, definitely the client numbers have dropped, and there's not retaining that. I guess what I found interesting is the very unwell clients are so anxious they're not realising the risks of actually continuing to come in and very resistant to moving to telehealth. My clients that aren't using Medicare and are using private health or a full fee paying are very happy to go to telehealth, and that hasn't been a problem at all. So it is that very complex client that's actually been the most difficult to navigate. So I guess that's it. And I think moving forward, it's about there's the concern for these clients in terms of how to support them and keep them safe in terms of infection risk, and helping them to understand the high risk that they have. Otherwise, the clients that have made the decision not to come in, which is great, their anxiety is just through the roof. And so there's been lots of support outside of sessions just to try and support them in terms of just emails and phone calls and things like that, because they're really lost and overwhelmed on how to navigate everything from actually accessing food, not being able to access their safe food, being too scared to leave the house, the anxiety of not being able to exercise. I mean, I think when it comes to eating disorders, there's so many different facets that this is really affecting that we have to be quite mindful of. It's been interesting. The feedback I've had is definitely the Medicare and the MBS stuff. I guess at the moment I've got a group of clients that can pay, so they're okay. But there has been a few that have fallen away that are my general practice is already trying to work on. So one of the GPs sees them, our nurse is seeing them. We're just trying to hold on to them however we can, really. And so it's waiting with bated breath, like everyone else, to see what's going to happen. And how we're going to be able to support them moving forward.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you so much, Jo. There was lots of important points there around not only safety to do with virus transmission, but then also emotional interpersonal safety as well. Like on so many levels, our clients are incredibly vulnerable. So I really appreciate it. Thank you, Jo.
Thanks, Fee.
Cool. I'm just wondering, I'm going to, if it's okay, if it feels okay, I'm just going to call on Anjanette. Is that okay, Ange, to speak? You made some really, really great points just here. Is it okay to share? Are you muted, Ange? Hello, Ange. That's okay. No problem. I'll see if Ange can speak when she's there. Now, is it okay? Where's Michelle Roberton? Yes, thank you. Yes, Michelle, I'd like to call on you, please. Thank you.
Thank you. You can't stop me from talking.
No, please.
Look, hearing what Jo was saying, I'm so glad that we really pushed ahead with this in the last 2 weeks. So in Victoria, we actually reached out and made contact with Suba Rudolph and a number of other paediatricians and EDB, and we've just produced some documents to kind of remind people that, you know, people with eating disorders are potentially at greater risk, and that they won't necessarily demonstrate the same symptoms, so they might not be picked up, and that to avoid, you know, both for their own welfare and to avoid kind of complicating the health system, people should be seen. So that's documents, and we've done one, I'm sorry, I haven't done one specifically for dietitians as yet, but we've done one for primary care practitioners, for mental health clinicians, and some consumer and carer advice that's located on EDB, and it's a collaboration across the state. And we've also got some template letters, so carers can request personal leave to care for their loved one, and also a template letter to be able to access shopping at the quiet hours. So that's just there, and that's just, we've managed to get it all up on websites and live today. So you could either go to SEED or EDB and get all that material for you. So I think that'll be handy to send on to primary carers who might be kind of going, oh, well, maybe we'll see them in a few months and things like that. So the very strong messages that people need to be seen, and that they'll be under a mental health pressure and physical health pressure at this time. So hopefully that helps you. I've made sure we put some nutrition stuff in the medical one, but if you'd like us to do something that's more specific to dietetics, just come at me and we'll do that. So, okay, thanks, Fee.
That's perfect. Thank you so much, Michelle. Really appreciate that. All right. So can I ask one more person? Is it okay, Shane, if I call on you? You're somebody who manages, again, quite a sizable practice. I'm just going to try to find you while I'm chitty-chatting. And, oh, perfect.
Jen.
Yeah. You are?
I'm with Jen, so I'm logged on with her.
Right. Ah, okay, got it. Okay, yes, I was like, I saw you before, but okay, perfect. Thank you.
Yeah, is there anything you wanted me to speak to, Fee?
Yeah, really just what's your experience been like so far? I haven't had an opportunity to speak with you. I feel like we're on the phone to each other constantly, and now I haven't, spoken to you for several weeks. So, what's your experience been like, not only managing your own clients, but then also managing a practice as well, and anything you need or any concerns you have about the future that would be helpful to kind of put on the table.
Yeah, thanks, and thanks for bringing this stuff together. I think we've been really fortunate in the last couple of weeks. We haven't had any significant increase in cancellations or reductions in new bookings and that sort of thing. I do anticipate that will change. We're sending out regular emails to our clients, so we're sending them out weekly, trying to keep them updated with what we're doing in the clinic. We recently did a survey of our clients to try. So in our practice now, we're still open for business as usual. So we're in a practice that we share with psychologists. We've rearranged the furniture in our consulting room, also in the waiting area to practice that distancing aspect of care. We're leaving all the internal doors open, but obviously closing consult doors. So we're minimising surface touching, that sort of thing. We're wiping down tyro machines, payment machines, door handles, those sort of things. So we feel like we're fairly up to speed on some of that stuff. What we're doing is, over the last 2 weeks, we've been collecting data on our text reminder service. So what we've been doing is, when we're offering our text reminder, we're giving the people the option to have an in-person session, opt for video session or opt for phone session. What we found is 80% of people are wanting in-person, about 15% or so, maybe 20% are looking for video session, about 5% phone sessions. And then we've also done another survey where we've asked people, in preparation for the event, should we have to go everything to telehealth? What would your preference be between phone consultation, video consultation, or neither? And we've got about 10% who prefer to have to stop contact. And the two reasons for that are essentially anxiety and cost, without the Medicare rebates available. we've got around about 20% opting for phone sessions and around about 70% opting for online video. So I guess what we're really trying to do is work from that client-centered approach and find out what our clients want, to give them choices and be flexible in what we offer, both from a service delivery point of view, but also from a financial modelling perspective. And similar to what was mentioned earlier, you know, if people are on Medicare rebates, given they don't have access to that at the moment, we're essentially wearing that cost. Although it was a bit tough when I found I had a client the other day who'd already met the safety net, so they got 85% back. I think we got about $15 out of that one. But you know, it's, you know, to me, it's just part of what we do. You know, it's consistent with our values. I'd rather make $15 and the person stay in treatment than you know, not. So we're certainly trying to work from that client-centered point of view. One of the things we're doing as well is touching base, if people opt for phone sessions or telehealth, trying to touch base around if they've had any experience around that before, they've got any concerns around it, if they're uncomfortable, how they're feeling. And, you know, I guess in some ways, a lot of our clients are probably in that university/young adult space. And for whatever reason, they seem to be more comfortable with participating in that way. I think that's probably one of the benefits of a lot of online learning, lecturing, that sort of thing at university these days. But the thing we're finding that's coming up across the board, irrespective of the mode of service delivery, is a lot of anxiety around access to safe foods. So people are sort of finding that their safe foods aren't available in the supermarket, so they're being forced to either move into their challenging foods or make a decision whether they avoid that. For some people, it's obviously, you know, swapping out brands or swapping to alternatives, which is challenging. So navigating that from a nutrition management point of view is certainly interesting. Then there's the issue of exercise, especially among our athletes, but also among the general population. You know, the people who are going to gyms or facilitating processes there, that's proved challenging. And then the other thing that's coming up again is just the anxiety around the uncertainty of the whole thing, you know, not just their dietetic sessions, but day-to-day life. You know, changes in the workplace, changes in the family structure, changes with their children, these changes with their eating. And so we're finding we're having to do a lot of communication with that. And for some clients, you know, what that means is really putting active treatment on hold and really trying to provide support for them to manage the situations that they bring into the room or into the consultation space, knowing that at times, you know, I had a client the other day and, you know, it was the stuff she brought into the room was her work structure. You know, she'd been put on night shift. She'd not been on night shift before. She didn't know what that meant for her structured eating, how she was going to sleep, et cetera, et cetera. So, you know, we're finding that we're sort of dealing and talking to people about some of those broader issues and trying to identify, well, where does that sit in terms of scope of practice? Is that something you need to take to a psychologist? Do I take that to supervision? You know, so the content of the session I'm finding is somewhat a shifting sand experience as well.
Yeah, that's there's. Where do you start when you have a conversation with Shane Jeffrey? Everybody, who know? It's like what do you call it? Like a lucky dip. Who knows where the magic's going to take us? And you know, I mean that with the greatest amount of love.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. That's really there was so much there. The first thing I wanted to clarify is it sounds like you're one of the very few people who I've heard has done a lot of in-person up until now. Most people I've spoken to, and this is, I say this completely neutrally, it sounds as if that what you've done is you've given yourself and your practice and your clients time to be able to prepare for what was going to inevitably be a transition. And I wonder, Shane, whether that actually has been a huge benefit for you and your clients and the way moving forward. As you say, who knows what's going to happen once you kind of, you know, go onto an online or a phone space, and that could prove to be quite different. But I'm not sure what other people's experiences are, but what I've noticed a lot with our other colleagues is they've made the switch to online really quite quickly, and that it seems to have kind of driven this this drop off, I guess, in client engagement. And again, I don't. There's no like people did this and this happened. We are all learning together. Who could have predicted that this was going to move so quickly, and that we would have needed all these skills to be able to use online platforms? Then how do I do my billing? And then how do I even have these quite complex conversations with people? So I really like all those ideas you gave about, you know, really taking your time. And that's one thing that actually you mentioned, actually all three of the three themes that came out of my conversation with Julie. And that was, you know, slow it down, really slow it down, keep checking in repeatedly, even within your session. You know, how's this feeling for you? How you doing? You know, all this kind of stuff. And then asking for feedback at the end and saying, you know, let me know how we did, you know, use we a lot. How did we do together? You know, I've started using some really cool rating scales with my clients about how we went. And I don't mean that as a judgment. Anyway, I'm happy to share them because it's actually been really, really useful. It's like, oh yeah, I kind of missed the mark on that, or, you know, we could have done better in that, you know, engaging in a certain way. But what I really like is you slowed it down, you checked in, and you're redefining what recovery looks like at the moment.
Fee, it's Ange here. Sorry.
Sort of got me. What sort of got me thinking around some of this stuff was, you know, the information around, you know, Josie Geller, how she talks about no surprises. And so for us, when we were sort of planning this, it was all around, you know, if we just shut things off and go telehealth, that's a big surprise for a lot of clients who have already booked in for face-to-face sessions. And so that's where the idea of options came from. But how long we're going to be able to sustain that, we don't know. And that's where the idea of the survey come up, trying to get an understanding of where people are comfortable in spending their therapeutic time.
Shane, we had it's Ange here. Sorry about that before, Fee. I don't know what happened with my phone. I was pressing buttons and somehow I managed to hang up. But we had a very similar thing at the Centre for Psychotherapy. So we're a little bit different because we work in public health. But I think the thing you really touch on, Shane, is it's about choice, where you can have choice, what you can control and what you can't control. And so our transition into online, which is certainly what we're moving to now, is that we asked people whether they would want to come in, whether they would want to go on the field, like have an outdoor area to have their consult, and whether they prefer phone, and just tried to give as much choice as we could, which is now becoming much tighter, I guess, in the current circumstances. But some of our learnings were to ask clients whether they have a space, like an area that nobody's going to interrupt them, or that they can actually speak freely, whether it's actually healthy for them to get out of the house and have the consult with you, that they're not going to be overheard. And another important, I think, that we're moving more towards is this idea of cope ahead. So having discussions with your clients, if you are seeing them, about how they are going to cope well, like what the threat would be if they were to have moved to online services, and are they speaking with their therapist about coping ahead skills and how they're going to do that well. And the other couple of things I have a lot of concern about is support for families and carers, because they're going to be around, they're going to see the distress a lot more, they're going to be there much more, and the support for them, I think, is important. And then finally, as you've already mentioned, just the food insecurity, people not having access to their safe foods. whether people can even get in to see their GP when you're concerned. How are we going to know, for those that do CBTE, their weights, just all those really practical things as well.
Mm.
And most importantly, taking care of us too.
Yeah, absolutely. And you bring up a couple of really critical points there. Because I'm a person who works backwards, I'm going to start with your last one first. And that is, how we can really take really, really good care of ourselves at the moment. And I know there's a lot of talk at the moment around what self-care looks like and sounds like and feels like. And, it looks so different for everybody, of course. But that, just making sure that we're using this community as much as we can. The other thing is that I can see there are a lot of really, really good points that people have raised. And what I wanted to do was to invite, hopefully if you can come on Saturday to our conversation, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a look through these and hopefully be able to provide some good discussion around them in terms of privacy. Tim raised something here about privacy, being able to have a space where you're safe to talk. And you raised, a fantastic point around resources for families and carers, and or anybody else. Do you know of have any organisations actually published or produced any resources for families and carers at this point in time that we could pass on?
I'm not actually sure. I know the Butterfly Foundation, I think, have written a resource just on managing coronavirus with people that have eating disorders, but I'm not sure about families and carers. Does anybody else know that's online?
No.
I know that there are some groups overseas that have been working on some resources. I've seen some of the links, but I don't have them off the top of my head. Maybe I can forward them to Fee when I track them down.
That'd be great.
There are things that are coming out around the place. So
yeah, that would be great. One of my supervisees works in Texas, and she's in a private practice, and you'll never guess what they're doing. So Ed Tyson is a psychiatrist who some of you will be familiar with, who's been around for many, many years. He's a very well-known psychiatrist from Texas, and he and a group of people have made a drive through, like this is going to sound awful how I say it, but like a weighing station. So it's so people drive into a car park, and there's like the way she was describing it, it sounds like there's a pop-up tent type thing, I guess. And then they're doing all the cleaning stuff, etc., and you have an allocated time that is like 15 minutes or whatever, and you come in and you do your weight, and then that weight is passed on to your therapist and dietitian, your treatment team. And I just thought, oh my God, people are just so remarkably, like, what an amazing idea. Like, I don't know how that would work. My goodness, I don't even know. But I thought people are going to great lengths to be able to make things accessible. Can you imagine, like, I don't know, somewhere like Chadstone car park, you have like a rock up to your weekly weighing or whatever. I can't imagine it happening here, but anyway, it was just really interesting, the innovation that people are coming up with. There was another point here, Jess, from Jessie Bales, about blood tests and so forth, and I imagine probably that would be seen as medical necessity for people attending their GP, I imagine. I haven't had any of my clients in that situation as yet, so maybe we shall see.
Can I jump in there?
Yep.
Many patients are getting forms faxed to them, so pathology request forms can be faxed or emailed directly to patients, and then they can just go straight to the pathology labs, which obviously are remaining open because they're very much in need at the moment. So that's one way that's being managed at the moment.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, that's great. So if it feels okay to everybody, I'm going to take all these messages and make good use of them if that feels okay. Now, I'm wondering if, for one last topic, I can call on our very, very dear colleague, somebody who I know we all have the penultimate respect for, Tara McGregor. Tara, can I call on you maybe to talk a little bit about how we can take care of ourselves at the moment, and also the very important role of supervision? Do you mind chatting to that, please?
Hey, Fee.
Hello.
And hi to everyone on the call. Self-care, that wasn't on our list, Fee.
No, sorry, just throwing it at, you.
You stuck that in, you bugger. Take another swig. One of the challenges I think that this conversation highlights, but that we all must know about on our own experiential level, is that there hasn't been a solid ground to find yourself on yet. It seems like each day the rug comes out from underneath us again. And and of course, extending that to our clients, given we do hope to be one step ahead of them, at least, in our ability to self-regulate, we can appreciate what they must be going through. But coming back to our own self-care, I think appreciating the impact of the daily nature of these changes, and it seems relentless. When we're looking at how we regulate, we can use cognitive strategies, we can use embodied strategies, and I think the relentless change actually challenges us on both levels, because you get your head around some information and then the next day it changes. And so being able to speak clearly to yourself about how this is going to work and what's going to be necessary is very, very difficult to do. And I know that I'm scrambling to catch up and find reliable sources of information, not just in the professional space, but in the personal space as well. And then you've got that lovely sort of, where it all crashes in. And I think that there's something about the loss of feet on the floor feeling that means our embodied strategies for self-care can actually be really disrupted as well. Even though the floor isn't actually moving underneath us, I don't know about you, but I feel like it is. I feel like, strangely, I haven't got connection to something that's solid. So I guess being able to come back to reminding us that there is an earth under our feet, even though it feels very, very difficult to contact. That we could talk about so many self-care things, but I won't do that now. I think the most pertinent self-care strategy that belongs in this Zoom discussion, given we're here to discuss our clients and our practices, is attending supervision. Now, many of the people on the call will have access to good supervision. I'm thinking about the people that aren't yet in supervision. Is that what's on your mind too, Fee?
Yeah, absolutely. I guess a couple of things is if we're not in supervision, or we've pressed pause on that because, well, for a number of reasons, including some of those same reasons as our clients have, our nervous system is shot. We're just trying to take one step at a time. As our wonderful friend Susan Williams has just commented, the floor is lava. So...
or it's a bit more like slip and slide.
A bit more like slip and slide. That's exactly right. Yes. Exactly.
But there's been lava moments. I can totally relate to that. Yep. Completely relate to that.
Yes.
So I guess is that something you'd like to focus on, Fee? Because obviously, if you're already attending supervision, you're already using that self-care strategy. Mm-hmm. And to obviously use your supervision wisely, prepare your agenda try and get some space before your meeting to really think about and reflect on what is going on for you, what is going on for your clients, and what would be your most important questions in that hour to have answered by and with your supervisor. So, but for those who aren't in supervision, and of course it's a struggle to get into supervision because there's not a lot on offer out there. I'm wondering, Fee, if you'd like to mention your page where there are a list of supervisors available.
So so some of the most common questions that I get about supervision is, what is it? Why does everybody seem to continue to rave on about it? Notably Tara and myself and Michelle and Terrell and people like that. But everybody is raving on about supervision because it is an essential part of ethical and safe practice. It also is a critical way that we can understand how our own experiences intersect with other people's experiences and how we kind of show up in the world. So on the Mindful Dietitian, there is a tab there with supervision on it. And if you go down there, there is a list of Australian supervisions if you want to support Australia. There's also international supervisors as well. If you're just looking for somebody different or somebody with a specific speciality, then looking further afield than Australia is quite worthwhile. We have some fantastic supervisors here, and if possible, I guess, supporting Australia where you can. And there's also Tara and some others here actually really generously contributed to a free online short course on supervision, which is essentially what you can expect, what to do, why it's so important, and then a number of little audio and video grabs from supervisors from all over the world, just talking about their experiences of supervision. So I didn't want to leave this call without kind of impressing the importance of that as a really critical element of our self-care.
Sure. Yeah, thanks. Sorry, someone's confessing to being a very bad supervisee. No such thing as a bad supervisee. At least you're a supervisee. That's the first step. I was taking for granted, Fee, that everyone on this call would be aware of supervision and have a fair understanding about what it may offer during normal times, but during these particularly difficult times. And so thank you for the reminder that it still may be very nascent for a lot of people and feel very vague and hard to catch, and that there are some excellent resources on your website to help people get oriented. I'm also really happy to steer anyone in the right direction if they want to contact me. We're here to support each other, and I'm very happy to participate in the community that way.
Thank you so much, Tara. Your wisdom and guidance and groundedness is just such a balm, really, for all of us at this time. So I really appreciate you so much.
Thank you, Fee. That's very sweet. I'm actually losing my mind.
Okay, everybody here, raise your hand if you are pretty close or you've already pretty much lost your mind. Can everybody see everybody else's hands in this show of unity? Okay, all in this together. Woo! So,
Yeah, that was definitely a display of faking it till you make it, which, can be a really useful self-care strategy too. We wouldn't want it to be our core one, but sometimes we just need to pull up our big girl or big boy pants and get on with the day,
Yep. And then sometimes we just need to lose our shit all over the spot, right?
Yeah, hopefully not in front of a client.
Yeah, preferably not in front of your client. Yes, absolutely. But there's been I just want to let everybody know and be really transparent that, there's been lots of tears this week in supervision. in my own personal supervision, there's been lots of tears, and also as a supervisor with my supervisees, you know, we've shared a lot. And so I just want to let you know that if that feeling like that's you at the moment, then supervision, good supervision should feel like a really safe space where you can just come as you are, and find some groundedness with somebody who really truly gets it, and somebody who can be with you whilst you drop your bundle, having somebody there, you know, holding your hand and passing you an empty glass of gin and tonic. Oh, all right. So I want to be really thoughtful about time. Thank you so much. I feel like my glass as well, not my actual glass has been refilled. I need a glass refill person. That's me. But I just wanted to say a really massive, big, heartfelt thank you to you all. None of us would be, you know, doing what we do without this community, and you all really mean so much to me. And you know, this is a, you know, your commitment of time and energy and your wisdom and resources, it does not go unnoticed. We're all so incredibly grateful for you all. Thank you so much. I'm going to stop the recording, and you're welcome to leave. Please do keep in touch. I am going to be popping the recording of this into in the comments of where I announce this, so that you can all go see it, and you'll get an alert for that. I'm not going to make it separate. I'm just going to pop it in there. If you want any other forms of recordings, then some of those again are on the Mindful Dietitian website. Don't forget, this Saturday we're going to keep having these conversations. I have found it so incredibly helpful just to keep talking to one another. And let's give you a little what I've done is, and this is making me so happy, is about every 2 or 3 days I've actually made a little date with a friend, either somebody who I haven't spoken to in a while, either in Australia or overseas, with actually they're all colleagues, and I've called it Cry, Wine and Wine sessions, and I've booked them in with people, and it's just been incredibly useful, as you know, we're all juggling all this complex stuff together, and you know, and our clients are really dealing with so much. So again, thank you so much for being here. I really sincerely wish you well, from my house to yours, from this land to yours, and I really look forward to seeing you again at one of our other conversations. So have a lovely sleep and rest, everybody. I'll see you soon. Bye. Bye. Oh, lovely waving. Bye.
Bye.
I'm going to do a screenshot. There we go. Yay. See ya. Bye, everybody.
Bye.